Hello, hello, all you neurotypicals dating somebody on the spectrum. Got my little doggy with me today. He's decided to come and join me. So if you hear him tiptoeing around, that's just him. Good boy, hey, good boy. He likes to follow me everywhere I go these days. So, their special interests. I mentioned in a previous video that their traits tend to vary. Some of them talk a whole lot, some of them are really quiet. I would say that my partner is more the quiet type. He's not a waffler. He doesn't go into these 1 hour monologues or even a 5-minute or a 10-minute monologue. He barely speaks. It's not big on talking at all. And so when he starts to talk to me about any of his special interests, because his special interests chop and change depending on who he's friends with and where he's at any given time in his life. Like the music one. He liked music when we first met, and that was because he was around people who liked music, and so he followed their lead. Anyway, if he starts to talk to me about his special interest, for example, he loves camping, he'll talk to me about all the ins and outs of it. You know, like I woke at this time and I had this for brekkie, and then I did, and da-da-da-da, and then there was lunch, and blah, 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 and I slept here, and I wore that, and then I had dinner, and da-da-da, all this, everything, you know. What he ate, what he wore, where he walked, how he fell, you know. And I just kind of, I don't know, it may be random, but I randomly enjoy sitting there and listening to it because I think he's talking to me. Woo! We're communicating, we're connecting. And it's much the same with my ASD son. I had said to him, because he spends an exorbitant amount of time locked away in his bedroom, that I'd really like you to come out at least once a day and have a conversation with me so I know where you're at. Lots of cockies around here. The olives are fruiting and they're just going crazy, and the olive trees are planted on nature strips, so these birds are just going home. Anyway, so he comes out now at about 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, picks the most opportune time for him, and he'll just start chatting away about games he's been playing. It's usually what he talks about, games he's been playing. He's playing this new game, and this is how it goes, and this is what you do, and this is what... and this is who I'm talking to online, and they're in this country, and they're this age, and blah, 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 because I do monitor all that stuff about him. I don't know if he knows why I'm asking, but I know why I'm asking. I want to know who he's talking to online, what he's doing, keep him safe. And so I kind of cherish those times, even though sometimes he'll talk to me about a game, he'll tell me the name, and he'll tell me what happens in that game. And then the next night he might come and talk to me about it, and I'm thinking, what's the name of that game again? I don't want to ask him because I'll seem like a weirdo not knowing. And so I'm trying to remember all of the bits and pieces that he tells me so that I can participate in the conversation as well. But he's different to his dad in that he'll talk about other things with me as well, not just his special interest. As an example, there was a girl at his school in senior, year 11 and 12 I think it was, and she got pregnant. Now I didn't know that, he just comes up to me and says, what would you do if I got a girl pregnant? And I was like, oh, and then we started talking about that. And then he explains, you know, he's asking because this girl at school got pregnant and I think her parents were not happy and disowned her or some such horrible outcome. And so we talked about that, and then we moved on to, you know, different things like, you know, have you met any girls you like, blah, 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 you know, and then conversation kind of goes here and there and everywhere. Unlike my partner who will talk about his camping trip, this happened, the conversation is finished. I can put my little contributions in there and talk about this and add to the conversation, but they really don't go very far, they're not very long. In fact, something that my partner has tricked me into doing several times until I clicked what was going on. We were driving in a car and he brings up the conversation of some friends that we knew. And I've made a video of that as well. And I start talking to him about it, you know. I've noticed this is happening, and I noticed that's happening, and I think these are the reasons why, and yada da da. Deep dive into the whys and wherefores of this situation. And he's like, yeah, you know, and relatively quiet. And I stopped talking maybe after 5 or 10 minutes because, yes, it takes me that long to realise I'm talking to myself. He's asked me a question just to have me converse with him. And by converse with him, just likes to hear me ramble? I don't know. He said that he liked, when he first met me, that I was a conversationalist and that he didn't have to communicate. And boy, oh boy, was he telling the truth on that one. Yes. So I started to realise that he goads me into these conversations and I end up having this monologue. And after a while I realised it was happening and I just stopped answering him. So now he'll ask me something, I'll give him a one word or a one sentence answer because I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to do this. It actually isn't fun, you know. You want the conversation to be blah blah blah, yada yada yada, and oh yeah, and oh ooh, yeah, blah 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 blah, right? Not yada da da da, yada da da, yada da da. That's just no fun whatsoever. So it is interesting, as I say, between the two of them, the difference between my son and my husband. But the point of this video is, I don't mind them talking about their special interest because at least they're conversing with me. And it might be kind of sounding a bit pathetic to say, but I'm at least thankful that they share that with me, you know. I mean, look, especially say the part where my husband said he was walking through the bush and he fell. He stood on a log and it was wet and his leg went that way and he fell backwards, you know. And he had those walking sticks, those hiking walking sticks, and one of them bent upon impact. That's how hard he fell. Now, that could have been really bad. He's by himself out in the middle of God knows where. And yeah, he sends me all the details, I'm here and I'll be here for that long and I'll be home on this time, and here's a picture of the map and it's circled and I am here, you know. But that could have been really bad. So, you know, I like that he shares that with me and I get to sort of know of the things that happen and I guess what to look out for. And obviously I said to him, yeah, I think there's a thing where they say when you go hiking and camping that you should never step on logs, and he goes, yeah, I heard that too, but he did it anyway. So, you know, it's cool that I get to share in those details with him. You know, it's not necessarily much, it's not maybe really deep connection, but I think it's their way of including me in their world, their way of connecting with me and kind of saying I love you in their own strange way. At least I like you enough to converse with you and have this conversation and tell you all my stuff. And I say that, you know, tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, but I know that my husband does love me, even if he doesn't show it in the ways that I wish. And he does feel that we're close and got a good friendship, and that's why he tells me these things. So that's nice. On the flip side, there was one time I was talking to my ASD son about something to do with psychology. And he goes, I don't want to hear what you have to talk about, Mum, it's boring. And I remember feeling a bit gutted by that, you know, the honesty and the truth, ouch. And I felt a bit jibbed and I said this to him, hey, I listen to all the stuff you have to say, you know, you could at least be respectful and listen to the stuff I got to say. And with my husband, if I go away and come back and talk to him about my weekend, it's a really brief conversation and he's not really answering. So that's the flip side. But anyway, over to you with regards to your partner and their special interest. Do you love hearing about it? Do you feel that it's a little bit of a connection, or is it a giant awful monologue? Do tell, love to hear from you, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video.